Bradley Beal and the Washington Wizards are expected to have some pretty interesting conversations over the next couple of days. According to Woj at ESPN, the two sides are apparently close to sitting down and discussing some possible trade scenarios for the young star that spent his entire career in DC. Let's keep in mind Bradley Beal is in the second year of a $251 million contract, and probably the most important piece to Beal's contract is that he is the only player in the NBA that currently possesses a no trade clause, which means any trade that includes Bradley Beal, number one, he's got to sign off on where you're trading him to. And number two, he can control what gets traded for him to a degree. Obviously, it's got to work out financially, but this is a lot of leverage that Bradley has from the standpoint of if a team is looking to make a trade offer to the Wizards and they're saying, hey, we're going to give up this piece, and that piece. If Bradley Beal wants to play with one of those pieces getting traded for him, he can say, nah, I don't want him a part of the deal because I want to play with him. That's a lot of power. That's honestly why I do believe this is the worst contract in the NBA. And I'm not surprised that Washington has finally come around on trading Bradley Beal. This is one of those scenarios where I'm trying to tell you, I don't want to be with you anymore, but I'm saying it's not you, it's me. That's exactly what this is. It's not you, it's me breakup. Washington made a mistake giving Bradley this contract. He does not produce enough wins to be in the $250 million club to me. Phenomenal score, not as impactful with winning. The Wizards got two guys that they value a lot that could potentially be free agents this offseason, and ClAUSE and Kristaps Porzingis. And let me just ask you this question. If I were to tell you that Washington could keep Kuzma and Porzingis or Beal, what would you prefer? If they're going to lose either Kuzma or Porzingis by keeping Beal, which one would you prefer? Are the Wizards really a better team today if you remove Bradley Beal from their nucleus? To me, the answer is no. And because of that, I'd rather keep $250 million in my pocket and try to get some young trade value. I think Washington is looking around and looking at the excitement within that San Antonio Spurs organization. They're about to get their hands on Victor Wembanyama. And look, I don't think there's any more Wembanyamas coming down the pipeline over the next few years. But if you're Washington, how about you give this fan base something to be excited about? And honestly, it's just not Bradley Beal. You know, a lot of people compare Beal to Dame's situation. Over time, I've tried to separate the two because Damian Lillard has put the Portland Trail Blazers at least in contention to win out West. Let's not forget, the Blazers did get to a conference finals. They did get swept by the Golden State Warriors, but Dame at least did that. We cannot forget that Dame scored 71 points in the game. He's pretty much guaranteed at least 150 point, if not 60 point, and now maybe even a 70-point game per season. Dame has been pretty durable throughout his career. I know he's had some injuries over the last year or two, but overall, Dame's been a pretty healthy guy. All things, he's been better than Bradley has been. To me, Bradley ain't adding no excitement to your franchise. He don't produce wins, and he's starting to get injured a tad bit more. I don't see the value in keeping Bradley Beal. I would want to trade him. Now, here's where Washington has kind of backed themselves in a corner. I don't think the value is going to be all that high for Bradley. I think y'all going to be shocked when y'all hear some of these offers, considering what the Minnesota Timberwolves gave up to get Rudy Gobert last offseason. I can tell you this, because Bradley Beal's got 5 years or 4 years remaining on that deal at $250 million, and because the fact that he's got a no-trade clause, the only guy in the league with that, that is a huge piece to his contract. Teams are not going to be willing to give up as much for Bradley Beal as Minnesota did for Rudy Gobert. Now, obviously, I believe Minnesota gave up a couple assets too many for Rudy G, but we're not going to get close to that with Bradley Beal. I think, if anything, Washington's going to have to probably soak up a bad contract or two, maybe a short-term one, to get Bradley off their books. It's going to be an interesting one. A lot of people are like, yes, finally Bradley Beal decided to leave Washington and join a contender. I'm not looking at it that way. I'm actually looking at it the complete opposite way. I'm not so sure what Bradley Beal does to winning, just because Washington has been so bad for most of his career. I don't know if he's a number 2 on a championship contending team. I'm not sure. I think he's more or less a 3. on a championship contending team. To me, I look at this as a win for the Wizards. Again, they're playing the "it's not you, it's me. I can't love you correctly right now" role. And I think it's the right role to play. I think if you're Washington, keep Kuzma, keep Porzingis. Hey, I'm not saying you're going to win the East with those guys because you're definitely not. But Bradley Beal ain't really equaling many more wins either. And you can get that off the books, start over, get some young pieces, try to get some young excitement around the franchise. And maybe the guy doesn't have to be anywhere near as good as Bradley Beal. But can you get a young dunker, like a younger Zach LaVine? Is there any one of those guys around the league? You know what I mean? A young guy that could come in and throw down some dunks a few times a game. How about Shaedon Sharpe, Portland's guy, ironically? Get somebody like that in the franchise. Miles Bridges is a guy that might be available in a few weeks here. Somebody like that that's going to come in, throw down some dunks, make people excited about going to the games again. To me, Bradley Beal ain't been that for a very long time in D.C.